If it pleases the court, Your Honour, my name is Edwards and I appear for the prosecution along with my learned friend. We are here today because Jenny Smith, the defendant...
Just wait, let them introduce themselves.
Just say your name so people will know for the record here, you know. Okay.
I'm here. Just shut my door.
Okay, good. Okay, now the people from Australia will tell you their names right now, if you don't mind, and we'll just tell you our names and then we'll start. Okay.
Jennifer Edwards, prosecutor. Shana Proden, prosecutor.
Joshua Stark.
Detective Amelia. Dr. Anna Miles.
Thank you. Okay.
Defense attorney Lisa Rodriguez.
Dr. Alston.
Okay. I guess you got all that, so let's go ahead and Judge, you can ask them to start their first opening statement, please.
We are here today because Jenny Smith, the defendant, brutally murdered a 7-year-old boy, Benjamin Netlow. We will prove to you that not only did Miss Smith murder Benjamin Netlow, but it was premeditated and she clearly knew what she was doing at the time. Miss Smith was 17 at the time of the case, and due to the heinous nature of the crime, according to Texas Penal Code Section 807, age affecting criminal responsibility, she is being charged as an adult and needs to be punished for her actions. Benjamin Netlow was a young boy who was playing in the park with his friends, as he had done on many occasions until he was brutally murdered by Miss Smith. Benjamin Netlow had 9 stab wounds and no doubt would have been in excruciating pain whilst trying to fight for his life. The defence may argue that Miss Smith is legally not responsible for her actions as she was on Prozac at the time, and it is the Prozac that had given Miss Smith violent tendencies. We will prove that this is not the case and that Miss Smith knew exactly what she was doing prior to the murder, during the murder and after the murder, and was mentally competent at the time. We will call 3 witnesses, Detective Sergeant Amelia Hodges, Dr. Joshua Sapp, and Dr. Anna Miles, who will all attest to the killing of Jenny Smith. There is absolutely no doubt that Miss Smith is the person who murdered Benjamin Netlow. The evidence is conclusive. Thank you, Your Honour.
Okay.
Your Honor, Iris Rodriguez will present Jenny Smith.
Need to turn y'all up. Hold on. Can you say that again?
Yes. Your Honor, Iris Rodriguez will present Jenny Smith in the case for today. We have just, as they explained why Jenny Smith should be convicted of the crime of first-degree murder. 5 important aspects of this case. First, the police called for a juvenile officer to sit on the interrogation of her client only after the body was found, and Jenny Smith had been talking to the police without her Miranda rights being read. With Miranda being read, police officers are required to inform her of her rights. Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and right to counsel anytime a suspect is subject to interrogation. A suspect is under interrogation when a police officer's words or actions reasonably likely to elicit an incriminating response, or the officer either intends to and knows that such a response is likely. Quantify Rhode Island v. Innis. Second, a large portion of the evidence that will be presented in case was obtained for the sole statements that were given by her client without having their rights read to them, without a benefit of an attorney present, and without a benefit of a juvenile officer present, all of which make this entire evidence inadmissible in court today. when determining whether a suspect was in custody or to take into account all the surrounding circumstances. Cross-apply Rhode Island v. Ennis. The suspect's age is one of the factors the courts consider. Now, third, the police must follow the laws of Texas and rule those laws. They cannot short-circuit or go around the law simply because they are trying to uphold the law or solve a crime. They cannot break the law to uphold it. If this were the case, the police would become criminals themselves. Their job is to protect and serve, not to do anything in their power to take away the rights of our citizens. Fourth, the prosecution has taken into oath to uphold the laws of Texas, and their team must do so in the prosecution of this case. They must convict their client through credible, legally obtained evidence and through good police work. We will show Your Honor that that is clearly not the case today. You cannot use information from a custodial interrogation of a minor for evidence against them without reading their Miranda rights first. Cross-apply JVD v. North Carolina. Now, 5, Dr. O'Reilly will testify and that Dr. Merrick's diagnosis was done in one visit, and then Jenny was prescribed with Prozac. 4 months later, then doubling the dosage. Jenny Smith had horrible side effects and loss of control over herself. We will call Dr. O'Reilly, Jamie Manning, and Joanna Stabler, and they will testify to our client's state of mind, her family lifestyle and situation, and bring up great many mitigating facts of this case. You will see an entirely different side of this case. We know, Your Honor, that after you carefully listen to our case, weigh the testimony of our witnesses, and listen to our cross-examination of prosecuting witnesses, that you will return a not guilty verdict for Jenny Smith. Thank you.
Mike, can I just interrupt for a minute? Our connection obviously isn't as great today, so we'll obviously have to slow down when we're talking, and if you could do the same, because we did miss probably a quarter of that speech.
Okay, we'll try.
Thank you.
Go, Aaron, call for their first witness.
Okay. First witness, please.
We call Detective Emily Hodges. May the witness please be shown this. It is a copy of the Brookbend Police Report.
Yes.
Detective Hodges, is this a report that you approved and was written by Officer Donnie Murray?
Yes, it is.
Your Honour, I would like to move this into evidence.
You may.
Can you please explain what led you to believe Miss Smith was a suspect?
Officer Donnie Murray and myself had gone back to the park that Benjamin Nettler had been and discovered that there were 2 children, Johnny Pooh Bear Holmes and Todd Kookaburra Jackson, that had seen the same girl wandering around just watching them.
Did you interview either of those boys?
The next day, I did. Officer Donnie Murray and I went back to further question Todd Jackson, as Officer Murray had felt he had more information that he had not stated the day before.
And what information did you get from Todd Jackson?
That he had seen the same girl at a snack bar several days before and learned her name was Jenny Smith and also got her number.
So how did you find Jenny?
Using the number Todd had gave us, the Brookbend Police Department were able to locate the girl, Jenny Smith.
What happened then?
Jenny was brought into the station for questioning.
Was her guardian with her?
No. Officer Donnie Murray left Smith's guardian a note and several messages on her phone.
Did she admit to harming Benjamin in some way?
No, she admitted being at the park, but denied seeing or talk to Benjamin Nettler.
From all of your experience on your previous cases, when a person denies seeing the victim, does this not mean that they are trying to hide the fact that they have done wrong, as they have a guilty conscience?
In my experience, this has been the case.
What did you...
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes. Sorry, I need to turn you up. Yes, go ahead.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Can you repeat that?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. The witness was never entered as an expert witness.
It's hard to hear. I'm sorry.
The witness, objection, Your Honor, speculation. The witness was never entered as an expert witness.
I'm an expert in my field.
Sustained.
What did you decide to do then?
We decided to take Jenny Smith back to the park to show us where she was the previous day.
What did you discover?
As we walked along, we noticed a rectangular hole in the ground. As we passed by, Jenny Smith kicked some dirt in there and cursed softly underneath her breath.
What happened then?
I asked Jenny Smith about the hole, and she admitted that she had dug it 5 days prior. She also stated the fact about there not being a law about digging holes in a park, and that there was nothing in there anyway.
Normally when a person digs a couple of holes 5 days in advance to committing a crime, would you suggest that that person had planned to do something with them?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Can you, I need to hear the statement again. Not you. I'm sorry. I need to hear what you were objecting to again.
Normally when a person digs a couple of holes 5 days in advance to committing a crime, would you suggest that that person had planned to do something with them?
Sustained.
Yes, I would.
At this point, did you think Miss Smith was involved with the disappearance of Benjamin Netlow?
I did, so we called for officers to search the rest of the park.
What did they find?
They found a second hole in the same rectangular shape that Miss Smith had admitted to digging.
Did they find anything?
They found Benjamin Netlow's body covered in 5 inches of dirt and leaves.
What was the condition of the body?
Benjamin appeared to have been stabbed multiple times.
What was Jenny's behaviour like when she was being interviewed?
She seemed lucid, calm, and collected during the interview.
Did she admit to harming Benjamin Netlow in any way?
A statement was taken in which she indicated having lured Benjamin away from the park, stabbed him multiple times, and then buried him.
Who was present in the interview?
Officer Donnie Morrow, myself, and Juvenile Officer Leah Cotte.
At this point, was she arrested?
Yes, she was, and we obtained a search warrant for Jenny Smith's home.
Your Honour, may the witness please be shown this. It is a copy of the journal entries and the knife and wall picture.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Detective Hodges, are these the journal entries and the knife picture from the wall that were found in Jenny Smith's bedroom?
Yes, they are.
Your Honour, I would like to enter this into evidence.
Yes, you may.
Did you find anything of particular interest in the defendant's room?
There were several pictures of serial killers on her wall labelled as her heroes.
Anything else of interest?
Yeah, her journal entry from January 1st.
Are you referring to where it said, and I quote, "This is going to be my year. I'm finally going to do it. New Year's resolution. Introduce my friend to someone. Now I just need to find the right kid. It better be soon because I can't wait. I want to know how it feels."
Yes, I am.
When it says friend, what is it talking about?
Officer Donnie Morrow, Juvenile Officer Leah Cotte, and I also found a picture of a knife on her wall in which she had labelled as her friend. This is particularly disturbing to me, especially for a juvenile.
Did you find anything linking Miss Smith to the murder?
Speculation.
Yes, we found a bloody knife between Miss.
Hold on. I think they. Can you repeat that?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation when they were talking about what the opinion on what she thought. Again, the witness is not entered as an expert.
Again, not entered as an expert witness. Sorry, the sound's been cutting in and out.
We're having the same issue our end.
Try to say it one more time. I'm sorry about that. I turned it way up.
Is that me? Well, objection, Your Honor. There was a statement made referring to what they thought about the knife. Again, the witness is not entered as an expert witness, so therefore the opinions are not validated.
Sustained.
On page 3 of the police report, in the last paragraph, Officer Donnie Murray said Smith's actions were deliberate and pre-planned. Do you agree with this?
Without a doubt.
No further questions, Your Honour.
You may redirect. Sorry, I'm new at this.
Cross-examine.
Cross-examine.
Detective, you said you picked up Jenny from her house at about 10 a.m. on January 8th.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You said that you picked up Jenny Smith from her house at around 10 a.m. on January 8th of 2012, correct?
Correct.
At this time, Jenny Smith was in your custody, correct?
Correct.
Now, you were in charge of this investigation, correct?
Correct.
So ultimately, the person in charge is responsible, correct?
Yeah.
Now, you took Jenny Smith into custody to bring her downtown to talk at the police station, correct?
Correct.
You asked Jenny Smith questions about the death of Ben, correct?
Correct.
In the course of these discussions with Jenny Smith, you asked questions which you obtained information about Ben's death, correct?
Correct.
Now, asking questions of a suspect in custody to solicit information is called interrogation, correct?
Correct.
When you interrogate a suspect you have in custody, it requires that you read those people their rights, correct?
Correct.
Now, Jenny Smith has an additional protection under the law because she's a minor, correct?
Correct.
It would require the police to read juveniles or Miranda rights before asking questions. You were out of compliance when you used information on the body,
We
correct?
did.
Your Honor, we move to dismiss this witness and to dismiss all evidence of the witness identified in the court today.
I was interrupted for just a moment. On what grounds?
That all of the evidence was obtained illegally under posterior interrogation that happened without reading their rights to my client before the interrogation took place.
Right.
We did read her
I
rights.
didn't have to apply Miranda.
I'm gonna allow it. Allow the witness.
The prosecution just admitted that yes, Jenny Smith was under their custody and they didn't read her rights until after they arrested her, which means that all the interrogation and all of the evidence found from that interrogation is inadmissible in court today, Your Honor.
Your Honour, you're
Okay.
just a witness. Can we move on?
Say that one more time.
Your Honour, we just allowed the witness. Can we move on?
We can move forward.
Thank you.
Your Honor, you cannot abrogate people's rights, and this is clearly what happened with Jenny Smith. Why? Because it took all of the information from the legal interrogation.
Sorry, Your Honour, why are we still discussing this? We allowed the witness. You allowed the witness.
I what?
I did say that I would allow the witness earlier.
Can we call our next witness?
Let's move on to the next witness.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you.
We call Dr. Joshua Sapp. Dr. Sapp, can you please tell me what your job is?
I am the Brookbend Medical Examiner, Texas.
How long have you been in that position?
11 years.
Where were you working prior to that?
I was the Assistant Medical Examiner of Brookbend, Texas for 5 years.
So you have been in this field for many years and have lots of experience.
Yes.
Who is the current president of the National Association of Medical Examiners?
I am.
How many autopsies have you performed?
Over 2,000?
Did you conduct the autopsy of Benjamin Netlow?
Yes, I did.
When did you perform the autopsy?
I did it on the 10th of January 2012.
Who else was present at the autopsy?
Detective Sergeant Amelia M. Hodges.
What age was the victim, Benjamin Netlow?
He was only 7 years old.
What did you rule his death as?
Homicide?
And what was the cause?
Multiple stab wounds, 9 in total.
Your Honour, may I approach? I'd like to enter the report of autopsy.
You may. Yes.
May I show the witness?
You may. Did you ask? You may approach the witness. I didn't ask. I didn't hear the question.
May I show the witness?
Yes, you may.
Dr. Sapp, for the record, could you please identify this?
It's the autopsy report of Benjamin Netlow that I wrote.
Your Honour, I'd like to move this into evidence.
You may. Yes.
Dr. Sapp, could you please read out the highlighted sections on page 6?
The descendant sustained multiple sharp forceps injuries, including multiple stab wounds involving the chest and abdomen, multiple incised stab wounds of the neck, and multiple incised wounds of cutting wounds. Fatal wounds were identified involving the neck, where the transection of the jugular vein stab wounds. Chest and abdomen causing inthoracic and abdominal hemorrhage. Of note, the cutting wounds of the left and right hands compatible with defense wounds. In addition, there was a number of blunt force injuries to the upper extremities hands, likewise compatible with defense wounds. The remainder of the autopsy revealed a normal, healthy male child with no congenital anomalies. Routine toxicological studies were ordered.
Your Honour, I would like to enter this evidence.
Yes, you may. I'm sorry. Yes.
For the record, could you please identify this?
It's the diagram of the male body.
Your Honour, we would like to move this into evidence.
Yes, you may.
Now there are 6 stab wounds, 4 of which your report states as fatal, and 3 self-defense wounds. In your opinion, based on the numerous stab wounds you have seen in your extensive career, does this look like someone was intentionally trying to kill the victim?
Yes, it appears to me that there was a lot of aggression.
Thank you, Dr. Sapp. It is horrible to think of the trauma poor little Benjamin Netlow experienced in his dying moments whilst he was fighting for his life. No further questions, Your Honour.
Okay.
You found the fence wound on Ben Elgo's body, correct?
Would you be able to repeat that? I can't hear you.
You found the fence wounds on Ben Elgo's body, correct?
Yes.
You believe that he put up a struggle before he was killed, correct?
Yes.
You didn't find any fingerprints on the body, did you?
No.
How many autopsies have you performed exactly?
Over 2,000?
Have you speculated in all of your autopsies?
No.
You cannot tell by looking at the wounds what motivated a person to murder someone, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, you can.
repeat that last part.
Yes, you cannot tell.
Yes. I'm highly professional, down, and good at my job.
But you cannot, by looking at a body, you cannot tell what the person had in its mind, correct?
Based on previous experiences, yes.
So you're saying saying that you do speculate, correct?
Your Honor, we've answered the question. Can we please move on?
I think, sorry, what's the word? I'm allowing the question. Can you re-ask the question? I don't believe he's answered the question if he speculates or not.
So you are saying that you are speculating.
No.
Speculation, correct?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
In fact, you cannot ascertain through an autopsy if a death has been premeditated or not, correct?
No.
So you cannot tell if a death has been premeditated or not, correct?
Your Honor, he just answered that exact question.
He did. Let's go ahead and move forward.
I just want to make sure that I heard your answer right. Okay. No further questions.
You may step down. Forward, yeah.
Your Honor, we call Dr. Anna Miles.
Okay.
Dr. Miles, how long have you been in the field of psychiatry?
I've spent more than 15 years treating patients with psychotic depression.
Is treating psychotic depression your area of expertise?
Yes, I am qualified as an expert in both Texas and federal courts and have written 3 books published directly to this case.
What was the dosage of Prozac Jenny Smith was prescribed in July 2011?
She was prescribed 20 milligrams by her physician.
Why was the dosage up to further 20 milligrams?
To my knowledge, it was because Jenny Smith's behaviour had not improved.
Is this a higher dosage for a 15-year-old girl?
No, it is not.
What exactly was Miss Smith diagnosed with by her physician?
She suffers from bipolar disorder and manic depression.
Can you explain that?
It is a mood disorder which causes episodes of depression.
Prozac has been found to be effective treatment for depression in both children and adolescents. Is this correct?
Yes, scientific studies show that drugs such as Prozac are effective treatments.
Do you have any evidence of this?
According to Dr. John M. Archol, the director of the Depression Center at the University of Michigan, Prozac is designed to increase serotonin, a feel-good brain chemical.
Has Prozac been linked to acts of violence such as suicide and murder?
No study has shown a connection between Prozac and increased incidents of violence, including suicide and murder. The FDA also has no evidence to say it does either.
Is that it?
The American Journal of Psychiatry analyzed data from over 207 drug trials, which included 50,000 patients.
What was the outcome?
The study concluded that antidepressants were not associated with an increased risk of suicide or violence with major depressive disorder.
Are you familiar with the journal Drug Safety?
Yes.
There was an article in there that analysed and reviewed over 2,000 studies of antidepressants, and suicidal events concluded that there appears to be little evidence that drugs increase the risk of suicide and related behaviour. Do you agree with these findings?
Absolutely.
What can you tell me about Prozac in regards to aggression?
Prozac has been found to decrease hostility and aggression in people like Jenny Smith who suffer from manic depression.
Dr. Miles, can you explain the connection between the rise of suicide and violence rates and the decrease in antidepressant use?
The FDA requires black box warning on all antidepressants, which has resulted in the decrease of number of children and teenagers being put on Prozac.
What has happened because of this?
A recent study has found that the rates of suicide and violence has risen as the use of antidepressants fell.
So basically taking teenagers off Prozac puts them for dangerous behaviour to themselves and others.
What does this show?
It demonstrates that children and teenagers that are in need of antidepressants but do not receive them because of fear of the warnings on the box, but they have actually been shown to become more violent and suicidal without adequate treatment.
In your opinion, is Jenny's suicide attempts and violence linked to her taking Prozac?
No.
This means there is no evidence to suggest that Prozac impaired Jenny's judgment and was the cause of her actions in carrying out the murder of Benjamin Netlow, correct?
Yes, there is no evidence to prove this.
So Jenny Smith, even whilst on Prozac, still had the mental capacity to know what she was doing and was well aware of her actions.
Yes, Jenny Smith's judgment was not affected by Prozac as she engaged in some planning prior to the murder, showing that this was something she deeply thought through and that it was premeditated.
You say it was premeditated. What prior planning are you talking about?
I'm referring to the journal entry dated January 1st, 2012, where it mentions she wanted to introduce her friend, which was a knife, to someone. She needed to find the right kid soon to see how it felt. This was literally 6 days before she killed Benjamin Netlow.
Was there anything else concerning in those journal entries?
In the January 7, 2012 diary entry, she further alluded to the fact that she'd kill someone else.
Just to make this clear, in your opinion, did Jenny Smith know right from wrong at the time she committed the murder of Benjamin Netlow?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honour.
Thank you.
You found
You may go ahead. Are you ready?
yes. Correct.
It's cutting out again.
You are being paid for this testimony, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
as all expert witnesses are.
You have worked for drug companies in the past, correct?
We cannot hear you. Could you please speak up?
Speak.
All right. You've worked for drug companies in the past, correct?
Pardon?
Dr. Austin, you have worked for drug companies in the past, correct?
I have spent most of my time as a psychiatrist.
Dr. Austin, you have been an expert witness for drug companies in the past, correct?
No. I worked in the clinical research.
Wait, sorry, you contradicted yourself now? Is that it? You clearly cited.
Clinical research is not a drug company.
Dr. Austin, let me see if I understand you clearly. You have no experience about representing and being a testimony for drug companies then, correct? No experience at all.
I have not testified for drug companies, no.
All right. Dr. Austin, you never personally examined my client, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I don't recall. Let me remind you that you are under oath, Dr. Austin.
Yes. That is correct. I did not personally examine Jenny Smith.
When she went to the hospital on November 11th, correct?
Pardon?
You never examined her when she went to the hospital, correct?
No.
Now, all of your decisions are based on theoretical opinions, correct?
Well, you cannot hear you. You're cutting out.
You can't really assume, all of your assumptions on this case are based on theoretical opinions, correct?
I have a bachelor's degree from Yale, a medical degree from Harvard Medical School, and I've spent more than 15 years in my area of work. I think I'm qualified.
According to my last question, you testified that this is the first time that you experienced being witness in the courtroom, correct?
No. For a drug company, I testified.
No,
I didn't testify.
So,
Let me get something straight. It seems a bit confusing. It seems that you just caught yourself while you were under oath. So have you testified or not?
I have not testified. I have testified before, but I have not testified for a drug company.
That's not what you said.
That is what I said.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Yes.
It's still muted, I think.
So that would mean that you have no drug expertise, correct?
I have clinical research.
Clinical research, but no drug expertise, correct? Yes or no?
Clinical research is
Yes
legal
or no?
drugs.
Yes or no?
Yes. I've testified in over 100 trials.
Any experience, as you just said, and you never examined my client, this would all come down to simple theoretical opinions, correct?
And the evidence.
What evidence?
I was given reliable sources of information from the psychiatric report, medical reports, and police reports, as well as a statement from Jenny Smith to the police and other witnesses. I believe these are reliable sources of information to give a full diagnosis.
So that would mean that you are testifying on hearsay evidence, correct?
It's not hearsay, it's affidavits.
No, it's affidavits.
You don't personally, you were not personally there, correct? So therefore, that's all hearsay, correct?
Just
I was not personally there.
Now, you cannot really assume what is going on in another person's head without professionally examining them, correct?
No, but the police and the other psychiatrists did examine them, didn't they?
But you didn't examine my client.
No, but I looked over their information.
Again, once again,
The
over other people, correct?
Pardon?
You're testifying over other people, once again, correct?
Yes, highly qualified professionals.
Reviewing all of your answers, this would mean that all of these are theoretical opinions based on other people's opinions, correct?
Yes, and my expert opinion as well.
I'll pass the witness.
Honor, can we redirect?
okay.
You may redirect.
Dr. Miles, do you have over 15 years of experience in your psychiatric career? Yes, that is correct. No further questions, Your Honor. That concludes the prosecution's witnesses.
Our first witness is called Dr.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We will be calling our witness, Dr. Catherine O'Reilly. Now, for the record, please state your name. Dr. Catherine O'Reilly. Could you please tell us your occupation for the record?
I'm a psychiatrist with private practice in the fields of psychopharmacology and psychotherapy.
For the record, could you please tell us about your medical education?
I have my undergraduate from Rice, my medical degree from the University of Texas, and I did one residency in psychiatry at Harvard Medical School and a 2-year residency at UT Southwestern Medical Center.
What medical schools?
Harvard Medical, Johns Hopkins Medical, and the University of Texas Medical School.
What other experiences in this area have you had?
I've given lectures at various medical schools all over the country and presented for the past 20 years at medical seminars and published over 100 journal articles and medical journals.
Your Honor, we would like to move that Dr. Catherine O'Reilly be considered an expert witness in areas of psychopharmacology and psychotherapy.
You may.
For the record, what, if anything, do you know about this particular case?
Well, I interviewed Jenny Smith, her guardian, Kara Smith, her childhood friend, Jamie Manning, and school counselor, Joanna Steebling, her father, Drew Smith. I also reviewed Jenny Smith's medical, psychiatric, and school records since childhood.
From this study, what have you conducted about this case? What, if anything, are your conclusions?
Well, she appears to have been a pleasant, active child. She had bouts of minor depressive periods when her parents divorced. Their family pet also died, and when her father was arrested and sent to prison. She was extremely close to her mother, and when she died, Jenny became withdrawn with first depressive behavior.
What, if anything, happened to Jenny Smith after her mother died?
Well, Jenny began seeing a psychiatrist in July 2011, at which the time she was diagnosed with being bipolar and manic depressed.
Your Honor, may we approach the bench?
Yes.
We would like to enter evidence, the clinic notes made by Dr. Merrick about her patient. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Who is Ashley Merrick?
The psychiatrist who treated Jenny Smith from 2011 to 2012.
And what are those?
These are the clinical notes of Dr. Merrick about Jenny Smith.
When did Dr. Merrick first see Jenny Smith as a patient?
July 25th, 2011.
What was Dr. Merrick's diagnosis after this visit?
She was diagnosed with both bipolar and manic depression.
What, if anything, was unusual about this diagnosis?
Well, both actually require a very complete exam that would take more than one visit to see the doctor.
What, if anything, did the psychiatrist prescribe for Jenny at that time?
Well, it was originally 20 milligrams a day of Prozac, and about 4 months later, on November of 2011, they upped the dosage to 40 milligrams a day.
Dr. O'Reilly, what is your opinion on the Prozac?
Well, Prozac has a terrible impact on the brains of teenagers, and a person's brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. The use of Prozac can lead to greater incidence of violence. The adverse side effects of Prozac are anxiety, aggression, psychosis, hostility, and rage.
What, if anything, did the U.S. FDA require the makers of Prozac to put on the label?
There are suicidal thoughts or abnormal behaviors in teenagers.
What, if anything, did the Canadian government conclude about the use of Prozac?
That Prozac is not authorized for use in children because it can cause self-harm or harm to others.
What, if any, changes did Dr. Merrick do to Jenny Smith's Prozac on October 26, 2012?
Double the dosage to 40 milligrams per day.
Excuse me, as an expert, I have to ask you, why would you double something that wasn't working?
Well, that's actually a good question. It doesn't sound like medical reasoning. After she doubled her medicine dosage, Jenny Smith attempted suicide and then now has been accused of murder. All of this happened within 2 months.
Dr. O'Reilly, what is your expert opinion concerning Jenny Smith's state of mind at the time of the death of Benjamin Nelko?
That she was not responsible for the death. Her downward trajectory began when she started taking Prozac in July 2011. Then when the prescription was doubled, her problems only became worse. Had she been hospitalized in November 2011 when she began to self-mutilate herself and would not have had a suicide attempt in December of 2011 or a murder on January 2012.
Dr. O'Reilly, what did the government say Prozac would do again?
That there could be a possible cause of a teenager to harm themselves or others.
No further questions. I'll pass the witness.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to enter this evidence.
Yes,
It is the affidavit of Catherine O'Reilly.
I'll allow it.
Ms. O'Reilly, you say in paragraph 2, page 3 of your affidavit that the use of Prozac can lead to greater incidence of violence in teenagers, and studies have found that there is a direct correlation between Prozac and violent side effects in juvenile females. Do you have any specific studies that you are referring to? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yes, I go by the statement which was actually made by the government of Canada.
You referred to Canadian research in your testimony just now. Is that because you don't have any Texas data?
Well, it was actually the FDA of the US.
So is it Canada or US?
I understand how it would be different if, I mean, it's just talking about teenagers and the effects that Prozac would have.
The reason I asked this is because Dr. Animal states in the affidavit in paragraph 2 on page 2, and I quote, Prozac is commonly prescribed 20-year-old antidepressant. No scientific study has shown a connection between the antidepressant drug Prozac and increased incidence of suicide or violence, including murder.
She's been working with drug. Okay. She's been.
Mike, we can hear you. Continue, Jen.
Neither the medical field of the FDA has found any link between Prozac and acts of violence. There is no reliable scientific evidence that Prozac causes people to commit murder, and in fact, it has been proven to decrease in hostility, aggression, and anger in people who, like Smith, suffer from major depression and a borderline personality disorder. Do you have anything to say to this?
Objection, Your Honor. She's not. You're asking her questions about her testimony. Clearly, she has already given her testimony. It is what it is.
That's questions about Dr. Miles' testimony.
That's questions about Dr. Miles' testimony.
What my client, what the doctor is clearly doing is offering her testimony, not talking about somebody else. Because if she were to talk about somebody else's words, then that would be hearsay.
She just heard that evidence. You claim she is an expert witness. She should be able to answer the question.
Please just ask the counselor of the opposing team to please just ask the question.
I need the objection. Can you repeat the objection?
Did they just ask the question?
Do you have anything to say that there is no FDA conclusive evidence?
I cannot testify for the FDA.
You have also said that you disagree with the bipolar and the manic depression diagnosis from Dr. Myrick, Miss Smith's physician. Dr. Anna Miles testified that she did agree with the diagnosis. What is the reasoning for saying that Miss Smith does not have bipolar?
Well, in order to be diagnosed with these conditions, it needs to be more than one visit to the doctor. And in this case, I mean, there was only one.
There were several visits to her psychiatrist.
It was the first time. And in order to actually be diagnosed, there's supposed to be several tests.
Can you repeat that?
You also noted.
Sorry, I didn't hear. Didn't hear the first part that you said. I'm sorry. Can the witness repeat that statement?
I said that in order to actually, for these conditions to be diagnosed, there's supposed to be several tests, not just one.
You also noted that you were concerned Miss Smith was released from hospital too early. However, her psychiatrist, Dr. Ashley L. Myrick, was treating her on an outpatient basis. Have physicians not done this in the past?
Doesn't mean it's correct.
Do you believe that Joanna Stebley, the school counsellor, did her job properly with following up Jenny Smith? Yes or no?
Can't really talk for her.
You're an expert in your field.
Well, in my field, I'm just talking about the Prozac, and that it should have been more than one visit in order to actually be diagnosed, and that's what I'm saying.
50% of your practice involves dealing with teens. Only 35 is with the pharmacology.
But why would you double something that's not working? Clearly, the 20 milligrams wasn't working, and it was doubled to 40 milligrams a day.
Obviously, it was having no effect on her, correct?
That's why she went to the hospital.
Do you believe that Jenny's behaviour was so bad, according to Joanna Stebley, she should have seen her more than 3 times in approximately 3 months? If she was your patient, would you have not seen her more?
Objection, Your Honor, out of scope of case.
Sustained.
Your affidavit states on page 4, the second paragraph, that Jenny has nightmares. You also say that Jenny said she felt as if she were in a trance. The nightmares and remorse tells me that Jenny was fully aware of her actions prior and at the time of the murder. How can you say with the remorse that Jenny feels that she's not guilty and doesn't know what she was doing?
Well, I mean, the Prozac label clearly states that it has a warning for teenagers, and such as I mentioned, the brain is not fully developed until the age of 25, and the effects are such as the ones I mentioned of depression and either having suicidal thoughts or harm to themselves or others.
And Dr. Anna Miles has testified the exact opposite of you. It is highly possible that there have been any teens in Texas who have displayed.
Objection, Your Honor. It seems to me that the opposing counsel is testifying instead of asking questions.
Please stick to questions, counsel.
Is it highly possible that there have been any teens in Texas who have displayed aggressive and suicidal behaviour that are not on Prozac?
Yes.
Yes, answer the question.
Objection, Your Honor. That's a hypothetical question. That's please go to please. The doctor cannot answer hypothetical questions.
Anyone could answer that question.
It's not correct to answer a hypothetical question in a case.
Is it a possibility that
That would
someone
be, once again, that your counsel, the opposing team, is testifying instead of asking questions.
Could you rephrase the question?
Is it possible someone not on Prozac can be suicidal?
I mean, it could be possible that the doctor was wrong. Your doctor.
Yes or no, is it possible?
Can you hear? Can you?
We can hear you. We're just waiting.
It's possible that your doctor was wrong.
Is it possible, yes or no? Answer the question.
Objection. Actually, question asked and answered. Can you go on to?
I didn't hear a official answer, maybe because of the sound.
It's possible that the expert witness was wrong. You're wrong.
You are not answering my question.
Try to answer again. Couldn't hear you. B, it sounded like a question.
Go.
Well, yes, but that's a hypothetical question.
Thank you. In your affidavit, you said that a person's brain is not fully formed until around age 25. Until that time, poor decision-making and issues with self-control are prevalent. Is it possible that Jenny's actions and behaviour can be simply attributed to her poor decision-making, which is common in teens?
Hypothetical questions, and I'm answering based on what I feel.
You're an expert. 50% of your clients are teens.
Yes.
Is it all possible that Jenny Smith was not taking the medication prescribed to her, and that's, in fact, the reason why she became more aggressive?
Did you hear the question?
Can you repeat it?
Is it all possible that Jenny Smith was not taking the medication prescribed to her, and that's in fact the reason why she became more aggressive?
It's not the question whether she took Prozac. It is that whether it worked or not.
No, I'm asking the question. Is it all possible that Jenny Smith was not taking the medication prescribed to her, and that's in fact the reason why she became more aggressive?
I was in the process of answering the question and I was interrupted. May I restate my answer?
Well, if you're going to answer the question, yes.
Well, if you're going to answer the question, yes.
I was answering. Okay. Anyways, it's not whether she took Prozac or not. It is whether it actually worked or not. And in this case, it didn't work. It just made the problems worse.
How do we know she was taking it for it to work? Did you see her take it?
Objection out of the scope. Please.
Objection. Say your objection one more time.
Objection out of scope of the testimony. Please stick to the facts.
Sustained.
Is it possible that her actions were caused by coming off the Prozac as the side effects of coming off that are depression, anger, aggression, confusion, suicidal thoughts, mood swings, memory problems, and inability to concentrate, which could account for her not completing her schoolwork? So is it possible, given that in Jamie Manning's affidavit, she said her aunt was forcing her to go to the psychiatrist?
Objection, Your Honor. These are all hypothetical questions, and my witness is simply answering the facts of her affidavit, not what might have happened, but what did happen.
Sustained.
Well, ask. No further questions, Your Honor.
We'll be calling Jamie Manning.
Oh.
Please state your name.
Jamie Manning.
For the record, please tell the court your age.
I'm 15 years old.
How long have you known Jenny Smith?
Since kindergarten.
What type of relationship have you had with Jenny Smith?
Well, she's my best friend. We've done everything together.
What, if anything, happened to Jenny after her mother died?
She became very sad and she cried quite a bit.
What do you mean by change?
She began wearing darker clothes and crying a lot more.
Now, what concerns, if any, did your friends express to you about your friendship with Jenny?
I know that she talked to her aunt about taking her to a psychiatrist, and she told me that if Jenny's actions didn't change, that I would.
What, if anything, did you tell Jenny about what your friends told you?
She hit me and then told me that she didn't need me anymore.
What did you tell your parents about this incident?
I didn't tell them anything about it because I knew it wasn't Jenny's fault.
What do you mean by was it her fault?
It wasn't Jenny anymore. I saw in her eyes it wasn't the same Jenny that I knew.
Your Honor, no further questions. I will pass the witness.
Okay.
Miss Manning,
May I redirect?
how well did you
Sorry. Go ahead.
Miss Manning, Miss Manning, how well did you know Jenny's mom, Linda Smith?
Can you repeat the question?
How well did you know Jenny's mom, Linda Smith?
I knew her very well.
When did Jenny's mom, Linda, pass away?
In September of 2011. Well, May 31st, 2011.
Did Jenny's behavior change after her mum passed away?
Yes.
What about her father? Have you ever met him?
No, he's in jail.
How long was he there for?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
I'll allow the question. I want to hear the answer. Go ahead. Can you explain the relevance of the question?
We're trying to work out whether he had much of a role in her upbringing.
Okay.
I wasn't ever there. He was in jail.
What do you think about Jenny's guardian, Kara Smith?
All I know is that she's never really home. She's working all the time and she doesn't.
So do you think she was a suitable guardian to Jenny at this point in her life?
Probably not.
Was Kara sympathetic towards Jenny regarding her situation?
Can you repeat the question?
Was Kara sympathetic towards Jenny regarding her situation?
Well, everyone was sympathetic towards Jenny. Her mom had just passed away.
Did you know Benjamin Netlow? Did you know Benjamin Netlow?
No.
So you
Sorry to
didn't
interrupt.
babysit.
Can the witness lean towards the mic maybe a little bit more? Thanks.
So you didn't babysit Benjamin Netlow?
I did a few times.
Was he a well-behaved child?
Your Honor, objection, relevance.
Again, can you explain the relevance of the questioning?
We're just trying to understand the relationship between her and Benjamin Netlow and why he was killed.
Well, Your Honor, Jamie Manning is testifying over the mood changes and actions of Jenny Smith, not of her brother.
Okay, let's move on past the brother.
Why did Jenny's aunt send her to see a psychiatrist?
Because of the mood changes in Jenny, she was crying all the time and was just seemed very upset and sad.
Do you happen to know what medication was prescribed to Jenny in July of 2011 by her psychiatrist?
I believe it was Prozac.
What was that?
I believe it was Prozac.
How did this seem to affect Jenny's behaviour?
She became a lot more sad and a lot more aggressive.
Sorry, what was that?
She became a lot more sad and much more aggressive.
How many times do you recall Jenny being sent to the principal's office?
Too many to count.
What was she sent there for?
Usually for fights or
Would you happen to know what these fights were caused over?
I believe they were just fights over nothing. It was just fights.
In November 2011, why did your parents tell you to stay away from Jenny? Could it be that her father was in jail for assault with a deadly weapon and your parents were afraid she might hurt you?
No, it was just
Could you please repeat that?
it was because of how aggressive she had become after she had began taking her medication.
What was Jenny's reaction when you told her your parents didn't want you to be around her anymore?
She pushed me, she hit me and told me that she was me.
Do you think that if you had told your parents or someone at school that Jenny hit you, then she could have got the help she desperately needed before it was too late?
No, she had already gotten in enough trouble for abuse towards other students. I wouldn't understand.
Yeah, but that was not her friend that she'd hit before.
But Jenny didn't know either.
No further questions, Your Honour.
For our next and final witness, we will call Joanna Stabley, the counselor. For the record, please state your name.
My name is Joanna Stabley.
For the record, please tell us your occupation.
I'm a school counselor at Brookbend High School.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's degree in counseling from the University of Texas.
When did you first become aware of Jenny Smith?
In the spring of 2011, Jenny Smith's mother, Linda Smith, called me up to tell me that she was in the end stages of breast cancer. She wanted to get some help for Jenny.
What, if anything, did you do at that time?
I investigated and talked to Jenny Smith. She seemed to be doing fine. Then her grades were excellent. She was very involved in clubs and school activities.
What, if anything, did you conclude from this investigation?
She was doing well, so I thought I would monitor what was going on. Her father was in jail, so when she lost her mother, I knew that her life completely changed.
Was not an investigator.
I'm sorry?
Objection, Your Honour. She is not an investigator.
Your Honor, she's a school counselor. She personally met up with Jenny and was personally asked by Jenny's mother to help Jenny.
I'll allow it.
All right. What, if anything, how did she do with her grades in the spring of 2011?
Her mother died on May 31st, 2011. She missed the last couple of days of school, but she had completed her finals and she received all the credits that you need for your freshman year.
When Jenny came back to school in the fall of 2011, when did Jenny Smith, when did you see her again?
I heard from Kara Smith that Jenny was seeing a psychiatrist and had been prescribed the drug Prozac for depression. Then I began to receive reports from Jenny's teachers that she was not completing her homework, barely passing her quizzes and tests, and had quit all of her clubs and activities. On September 22nd, 2011, I met with her and she had turned in her homework for 2 weeks.
What, if anything, did you observe about Jenny Smith's behavior at that time?
She was very different from the first time we met. She now wore all black and she was very quiet. Her demeanor was sullen and spoken very little. I put a note in her school file and mailed a note of concern to her guardian.
When was the next time you saw her?
That was on October 19, 2011.
What, if anything, did you observe about her during that meeting?
She had came into my office because she had shoved a student in the hallway and her hand was bleeding. Even though there are no witnesses, I was concerned in the apparent increase of violence. The Guardian.
When did you see her next?
On November 15, 2011, Jenny came into my office because she was fighting with two other girls. They all had to go to the nurse's office. I attended the examination and saw that Jenny had around 300 self-inflicted scars on her body. She had also had multiple burn marks. It was the worst case of self-mutilation that I have ever seen as a licensed professional counselor. I told the principal that because of Jenny's obvious psychological issues stemming from her mother's death, Jenny shouldn't be expelled for fighting, but she should receive in-school suspension.
What, if anything, did Kara Smith say about Jenny Smith's behavior on November 15, 2011?
I called her by the phone and found out that she has never gotten my other two notes. I told her along with, or happening with and to Jenny.
What, if anything, came about this new visit of Jenny Smith to her psychiatrist?
On November 2008-2011, I received a note from Jenny's doctor that Jenny's Prozac prescription had been changed to 40 milligrams per day. During the next 3 weeks before Christmas, she became more withdrawn and swollen and verbally aggressive. The rumors at school were all about her terrorizing several freshman girls when there were no faculty members around.
What, if anything, happened to Jenny during the Christmas holidays of 2011?
I learned later that Jenny Smith had been in the hospital for 2 days because she had taken a bottle of pills and tried to kill herself. I tried to visit her, but she refused to see me.
When did Jenny Smith first begin having trouble in school?
I've looked through all of her records, and she had never had any trouble until the fall of 2011.
No further questions. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Debley, you had stated that you had noticed major changes in Jenny Smith's attitude. If her behaviour was so bad as you claimed in your affidavit, then why did you only see her 3 times, approximately a month apart each time?
Because I felt that it was only necessary to see her I didn't feel that it was necessary to see her until these things had happened. Of course, I was monitoring her behavior, but whenever it spiked up like it did in these 3 incidents, that's whenever I felt that I needed to go and talk to her.
But isn't it your job to be proactive where you can and act when required?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Isn't it your job to be proactive where you can and act when required?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, it keeps breaking up at the beginning.
It's breaking up really bad. Just if you could repeat the question, she'll be glad to answer.
Isn't it your job to be proactive where you can and act when required?
And that's exactly what I did.
Did you genuinely care about the safety and well-being of Jenny Smith, or were you just ticking the boxes and saying you'd met her 3 times so you were doing your job?
Of course I cared about Jenny Smith. That's why I sent notes to her parents. That's why I met with Jenny every time I felt that it was necessary.
Her parents? What was that?
I said, I'm sorry, it was her guardian, Kara, not her parents.
Jenny Smith's psychiatrist did the right thing by informing you about her medication and records. When you noticed a change in behaviour, why did you not contact Jenny Smith's psychiatrist?
Well, that's why I had contacted her guardian, because I didn't feel that it was my place to contact the psychiatrist, but rather the guardian to inform the psychiatrist based on the guardian, what the guardian needed.
But do you think if you had done this, this could have prevented the terrible tragedy?
Well, if I would have done this, I would have been going against Kara Smith and what her wishes may have been. It's also up to the guardian. I'm not the only one who has a say in what happens later.
The well-being is at risk. It is your duty.
If you thought that her well-being was at risk, then it's your duty. Correct?
You're implying that Prozac is the problem.
No, I'm not.
Next question.
When you had no response from Jenny Smith's guardian, why didn't you take further action?
Because Jenny had never gotten in any trouble, and I didn't feel that it was serious whenever it was just a one-time event.
What do you mean any trouble? She was getting into fights all the time.
she had only gotten into 3 recorded fights. 3 fights that were on the record that someone
3 recorded fights. There were many more.
proven, I'm sorry, which is what I said, proven, which is I saw her on every single occasion.
And yet not made physical contact.
And yet not made physical contact with the guardian.
I did the 3rd time whenever I felt that it was necessary.
Maybe it was a bit too late. You noted that you realised Jenny was self-mutilating. Do you not think the information would have been vital to a therapist?
Can I answer your other question, please? Maybe it was a bit too late because of the Prozac. If the Prozac hadn't been doubled, then there wouldn't have been a too late.
Well, if you had communicated with her psychiatrist, then it may not have been.
If your psychiatrist wouldn't have overdosed her, then maybe this wouldn't have happened also.
According to Dr. Miles, it is not a high dosage for a person of her age.
It might not. Well, every person is different, and you have to take it different on that person. And obviously, in this case, it wasn't working with the lower doses, so there's no point that it was.
And her psychiatrist saw her more times than you did.
Her psychiatrist also thought it would be a good idea to double the Prozac, which is obviously a bad idea.
She is more qualified than you. It is not in any of her medical records that a therapist was aware of her self-harm, despite it being something that was highly relevant. When Jenny Smith was first brought to you for shoving a girl in the locker, why didn't you take further action?
I did take further actions. I sent a note home to the guardian because this was the first time on record anything had happened. So this is when I no.
Why was the phone call not made when the incident happened?
The phone call was not made because I didn't feel that it was necessary. Jenny Smith had never gotten into any trouble before until recently.
What, physical violence isn't necessary?
I'm sorry?
Physical violence isn't bad?
Well, again, this was her first time. I sent a note home and I felt that it was sufficient enough because I didn't think it was going to happen again since it hadn't happened in the past.
Physical violence is never acceptable. It is against the law.
Well, I mean, the double of Prozac wasn't acceptable either. It wasn't helping her. It was just making her worse.
That's your opinion.
Actually, it's facts, as you can see from Jenny's actions.
Well, to the psychiatrist, who is more qualified than you, it is not a high dosage for a person of her age.
Well, can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Never mind. Jenny clearly manipulates the truth and is well aware of her actions. You said in your affidavit that she was terrorizing certain freshman girls when no staff or faculty members were around. Does this not clearly show that she knows exactly what she is doing and when to do it in order to not receive any consequences?
Not at all. You can't see inside of Jenny's brain to show that she knew what she was doing. It said that she had terrorized freshman girls, but not that she did it knowing what she was doing.
But she did it at a certain time when no people are around to witness it.
This doesn't mean that she knows what she's doing.
But it happened multiple occasions.
It does not mean that she knows what she's doing. She's not in the right state of mind because your expert psychiatrist that is supposedly more qualified than me dosed her wrong.
Again, 2 expert psychiatrists outrank you.
But only one of the psychiatrists saw her, and the psychiatrist that saw her barely saw her. So I would beg to differ that both of the psychiatrists outrank me, rather that we are both experts, or all 3 of us are experts, so we're all equal.
The psychiatrist saw her more than you did.
I'm sorry?
The psychiatrist saw her more than you did.
But I definitely monitored her behavior more than the psychiatrist did.
I only saw her 3 times a month. 3 times, approximately a month apart.
I did not monitor her behavior.
You did not monitor her behavior.
You cannot prove that I did not. I indeed monitored her behavior.
But it's in your affidavit that you saw her 3 times, approximately a month apart. Once in September, once in October, and once in November. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Question after. We've been going around in circles for a while now. Can they please ask another question?
Ms. Dudley, how many years have you been in your type of role?
10.
In your years of experience, have you seen many children undergo many different changes through their puberty and teenage years?
I'm rather not testifying on whether this was Jenny's puberty or not, but it was rather the Prozac.
I'm not asking you that. Just answer the question. Yes or no?
I'm sorry, but that is out of the scope of my testimony, so I cannot answer it.
10 years experience.
You just said that she had 10 years experience.
Yes.
Anyone could answer this question.
My testimony is over Jenny Smith's behavior, not over my experience with every other case.
Or you testified as an expert witness.
Well, you testified as an expert witness.
I'm testifying as an expert witness to show that my expertise can see that the way that I examined Jenny Smith was correct in my expertise.
Isn't it normal for teenagers to suddenly change the way they dress, the way they act, for instance, wearing all black, especially when they're going through hormonal changes during adolescence?
Well, this one is, again, specific. I can't answer for all of my other cases, but for Jenny Smith, this was caused by the Prozac.
Again, your opinion.
No, it's my expertise. Like you said, I'm testifying as an expert witness, and that is my expertise over this examination.
Is it possible that Jenny wasn't actually taking the Prozac in the first place, and that could be the reason there was no positive change in her behaviour?
That's not what I'm testifying. I'm testifying that the Prozac...
But this is a question I'm asking you. And you said you were monitoring her.
Of course I was monitoring her. And I can't answer a hypothetical. Again, I'm an expert witness that should be answering.
It's not a hypothetical question. Is it possible that she wasn't actually taking the Prozac in the first place?
Is it possible means that anything is a hypothetical. Is it possible?
Did you actually see her take the medication in the first place? That's not a hypothetical question.
That's not what my testimony is about.
I'm asking you.
So
Well, I'm asking you now.
Well, once again, it is out of my testimony and I cannot answer it.
This is being argumentative.
Your Honour, the witness has been argumentative. Can you get her to answer my question, please?
Your Honor, the opposing counsel is clearly not stopping to ask hypothetical questions. To be asking characters.
Your Honour, your microphone is muted.
Sorry about that. I thought I heard the other counsel speaking. I do feel like we're going a bit in circles, so I would like to see if we maybe can rephrase and close up the question.
Did you see Jenny take the Prozac?
Again.
Yes or no?
Again, that is not in my testimony and I cannot answer that question.
Is it possible that instead of Prozac being the cause of aggression that you say Jenny Smith had, that she was actually going through the 5 stages of grief?
My testimony is simply over facts, not hypotheticals.
You monitored her. You should know this about her. This is not hypothetical.
Asking questions. In this case, she keeps asking hypothetical questions. I thought we could do this.
I need the other counsel to speak up.
Your Honor,
Or
the opposing counsel keeps asking hypothetical questions and forcing my witness to try and answer a hypothetical question that is out of the scope of character.
sustained.
No further questions, Your Honour.
Your Honour, is it our closing now?
I believe so.
Honour, throughout the trial, we have presented you the evidence and information that shows Jenny Smith pre-planned the murder of Benjamin Netlow and displayed clear intentions to commit this crime again. We have proved to you that Prozac couldn't have been the cause, and even whilst taking the drug, Jenny retained full mental capacity and control of her actions and willingly killed Benjamin Netlow. If Jenny isn't made to feel the full weight of her actions, then she will not understand the severity of what she has done and will be likely to do it again. It is clear that she had the intentions to commit this crime again, as she had already commenced the planning of a second murder after she killed Benjamin Netlow, as seen in her diary. Jenny Smith must not be seen as mentally incapable of committing such a crime when there is no evidence to prove Prozac is linked between acts of violence, including murder. The death of Benjamin Netlow was thought out, premeditated and deliberate, as Jenny had engaged in pre-planning 6 days prior to the murder and had dug 2 graves, not just one. Jenny, at any time, could have reconsidered her actions and instead could have decided not to commit this crime on an unsuspecting child of 7 years. What you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to let Jenny Smith out into the community only for her to turn around and kill another innocent victim, like she's expressed the desire to do so? Jenny must be dealt with as any other offender with clear criminal intent, and Prozac must not be used as an excuse for her actions. Thank you, Your Honour.
Your Honor, I stand here to explain that there are 8 witnesses to both Jenny Smith not guilty. First, I'd like to address that their expert on police procedures clearly said that the information obtained from the custodial interrogation was illegal, as they admitted that they had not read my client their rights until after the interrogation was over. Now, consider Dr. O'Reilly's testimony. Note that Prozac was outlawed in Canada and carries a warning in the United States for aggressive and self-mutating behaviors in teenagers. These warning signs alone make it first-degree murder impossible to prove. A case is clearly made that she was not in her right frame of mind. You cannot have a premeditated crime under these conditions. Second, consider Dr. O'Reilly's testimony that Jenny Smith was diagnosed both with bipolar disorder and she was manic depressed. Both of these conditions result in wild mood swings, and then add something like Prozac on top of that, and the results will only be magnified, not diminished. These were diagnosed on one visit, even though they should take several visits to actually be diagnosed. Doubling the dose and then the side effects of going without the double medicine can cause this behavior change. Now, third, consider Joanna Stapley's testimony. She noticed and documented Jenny Smith's behavior before and after November 15th visit, when she saw the 300 scars of self-mutilation along with the burn marks. These are signs of suicide and fit into the warning of Prozac. Now, fourth, consider Jamie Hatch's testimony, when she stated that Jenny Smith physically attacked her in November 2011. Compare the relationship pre and post Prozac. You can see the documented changes in Jenny's behavior. All of these behaviors fully support the concept that Jenny Smith was not physically or mentally stable, and her condition was magnified by doubling Prozac. Fifth, consider that the police report and note that the Berkman police called for juvenile officers to sit on the interrogation of her client only after the body was found, and Jenny Smith had been talking to the police without her Miranda rights being explained, which the prosecution's expert witness has also added on to that, indeed all of the information was illegal, making all evidence inadmissible in court today. Now, Your Honor, we stand here because the police must follow the laws of Texas, and they should rule the laws that as they were based on. They cannot short circuit or go around the law simply because they are trying to solve a crime. You cannot break the law to uphold it. If this were the case, the police would become criminals themselves. Their job is to protect and serve, not to do anything in their power to abuse the rights of our citizens. 8, the prosecution has taken an oath to uphold the laws of Texas, and their team must do so in the prosecution of this case. They must convict their client through credible, legally obtained evidence and through good police work, and clearly even the expert agrees that this is not the case. We've shown you time after time today that this is simply not the case. Your Honor, we stand here today because Jenny Smith is a victim. We have proved throughout the course of this trial that Jenny Smith is not only a threat to others but to herself. 300 marks of self-incised mutilation and burn marks along with attempted suicide throughout the course of a year. All of these took place after the first visit with Dr. Merrick on July 25th of 2011, when she was introduced to the drug Prozac. Jenny Smith is a victim. Jenny Smith had to encounter many traumas that children shouldn't go through in her young life. Her father's in jail, her mother is dead, and her aunt is hardly ever there for her. It is the government's job to ensure the well-being of all of its citizens. All Jenny needs is proper help. If convicted of murder, the government will fail Jenny Smith. What type of society do we want? What type of society do we aspire to be? We pray that you consider the circumstances and facts involved in this case. Clearly, Jenny Smith was not given her rights. This was used against her, and just as clear is the fact that Jenny Smith was not in her right state of mind. Both not guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, it's a tough one, so I have to think for a little bit, and I'll be back with a verdict. Okay. Do I have to choose? No. Well, I hope it's okay to break a little bit of character. I'm obviously volunteering today, and you guys all did a great job. It's tough to go either way because I think on one hand, it does sound like the Miranda rights weren't read in a timely manner, so that there's that. But I also don't think there's full proof that Prozac was the cause per se. So this is tough. I don't know. If it was me, if I was like, this was like real life, right? I think I would lean towards some sort of a I would want her to get help in like a, mental institution versus going to jail.
Okay.
I guess I'm saying not guilty. I'm really sorry. I don't know what to say. I think that like I said, there wasn't full proof that Prozac was the reason at all. Because obviously lots of things are going on with her. But I also think I might have wanted a little bit more evidence in the like premeditation and that kind of thing. So I think everybody did a great job. And honestly, if it could be a tie, that'd be my perfect world.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Fine. Okay. We thank you so much, Aaron, and we thank you, Findon. You guys did a marvelous job once again, and we surely appreciate it. And from our end, because most all the kids have to go home, we do truly appreciate. One of the things we do is we do Australian cases and we do United States cases too. So this is a little bit, and it's always been weird that we do better in Australia than we do with our own cases, and they do better in American cases than we do. So
Australia, y'all brought it. Like, that was like awesome. Seriously. And both teams totally got it. I think the sound was obviously a barrier for everybody. So that was really tough. I think some questions got like more heated when it was just like, but I can't hear you, So everybody did really, really great. And can it be a hung jury? Is that okay?
Okay. To go back, Aaron, to prove premeditated murder, I think you were succinct in the first place. They have to show premeditation. And the only way they could show premeditation is to use the evidence that they could not legally use under Miranda and under J.D.B. Miller and some other cases that they could cite. It's the problem. I think you could end up doing something for less, but you couldn't hardly get first-degree murder. It's going to be a problem the way it's going today. But we're going to have to go because everybody has to leave on our end. And I know they have to go to class sometime in the morning in Australia. So we really do appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. I do have one other thing we might want to, if you could do later. The people from the Virgin Islands have sent us this really cool case on the 14th Amendment. and it has to do with marriage of same-sex partners in a territory, and they're saying that the territory laws aren't necessarily the same as federal laws, and federal laws don't partake. So it's hits a lot of boxes. So we're going to try to do something with that later on. But we appreciate this so much, and I'll be talking with you guys in Findon. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.